Hello and thanks for joining us on TVC Midday News. And we begin the news with this story that operatives of the Department of State Services have raided the Kaduna residence of hostage negotiator Tukur Mamu. The operatives, who came in 20 pickup vehicles, also raided his office. TVC News gathered that the operatives made away with some items, including laptops. Mr Mamu, who is the spokesman to Kaduna-based Islamic cleric Sheikh Ahmed Gumi, was arrested by the DSS on Wednesday after he returned to the country from Egypt by Interpol. He was returned to the country from Egypt by the Interpol. Mr Mamu and his wives were on their way to perform the Lesser Hajj in Saudi Arabia. He has been actively involved in securing the release of persons taken captive after the attack on the Kaduna-bound train. A statement by the DSS states that Mr Mamu was repatriated following a request by the military to answer critical questions on ongoing investigations relating to some security matters in parts of the country. TVC News correspondent Lupe Asom reports.
Government, as a people, as organizations, we must take it seriously.
Mamu Tukur's role as lead negotiator has resulted in the release of 40 out of the 63 passengers kidnapped by terrorists on the 28th of March. But on Wednesday morning, there were widespread reports of his arrest in Egypt. Mr Mamu Tukur is also the media aide to Kaduna-based Islamic cleric Sheikh Ahmed Gumi and publisher of Desert Herald newspaper. Sources reveal he was immediately detained by the Interpol at the Cairo International Airport. This, they say, happened while he was waiting for a connecting flight to Saudi Arabia with his family, his alleged destination for the Lesser Hajj. In the last 4 years, communities and schools in Kaduna State have been in the direct line of fire by terrorists and armed bandits. The Kaduna governor had attributed the attack to ISWAP terrorists moving into the state from the northeast, and he had advocated for them to be bombed to death. But Mr Mamu had been vocal about his opinion of the use of non-kinetic measures in addressing this challenge. He has also led the negotiation processes when people were abducted and raised his voice when similar attacks occurred in other states. Reactions to his role have been mixed, and many have questioned who he is and what he represents. But those he has helped out of captivity have at different times gone to thank him at his Kaduna residence. In the aftermath of the Kuje prison break, Mr Tukur revealed that he had warned the federal government of the possibilities of such attacks. He also revealed the train abductors' demand for a swap of the victims with their colleagues and children who were in the custody of the military. There are claims that Mr Mamu's arrest may not be unconnected with others from the federal government of Nigeria. Residents of Kaduna are also reluctant to air their views on an issue they fear may be tricky and beyond what is seen on the surface. It was also gathered that Mamu is expected to arrive at Aminu Kano International Airport in Kano on Wednesday afternoon. Lupe Asom, TVC News, Kaduna.
And staying with security matters, the Ondo State Security Network Agency, codenamed Amotekun, ECOWAS, has arrested 4 suspected kidnappers and 18 other suspects for armed robbery and cultism. Parading the suspects at the agency's headquarters in Akure, the state commander of Amotekun, Adetunji Adeleye, said the suspected kidnappers have been terrorizing travelers in Osun or areas of the state. Ayodeji Moradeyo has details.
Ondo State has been in the news in the past few days following abduction of many passengers who are returning from a ceremony in Edo State. In the midst of these, security agencies in the state have not gone to sleep. Operatives of Amotekun Corps in the state have recorded huge success in the fight against crime.
Okay, his name is Soliu.
This time, 4 kidnappers who have been terrorizing the people of Owo and Ose areas were arrested, as well as other suspects for various offences. They include 5 members of a robbery syndicate who had stolen phones worth more than 84 million naira at various locations in 7 states, including Ekiti. They were arrested by Amotekun operatives in a hotel in Akure.
It's another harvest of criminals that have been disturbing the peace of residents of Ondo State. So today, we have a total of 22 criminals that are arrested in the last few days. They comprise of an interstate syndicate that specializes in robbing people of expensive phones.
The Amotekun commander also parades on suspected cultists and armed robbers. Mr. Adele said the command and other security agencies are working around the clock to rescue the last kidnapped victims in the state.
Talk now, a full complement of men of the 32 Brigade Artillery, the Amotekun, the police, the DSS, have been working on series of operations. And lately, we had collaboration with the Edo State team. We are waiting for the Kogi to join us. Because what happens most of the time is when we drive them off from Ondo, they go to Edo. Once we leave, they come back. And if you check the trend, they know they cannot successfully operate inside the main town.
The Amotekun commander said some of the suspects will be handed over to other security agencies for further investigations. Aidejimora Deyo, TVC News, Akure.
In Osun State, the field commander of Amotekun Corps, Amitolu Shitu, has advised lawyers against preventing the Corps in carrying out their investigations or arresting of suspects. This is just as the police paraded an acclaimed medical doctor, Abbas Adio, for allegedly injecting his victim, an acquaintance with a substance suspected to have led to his death. Rafiu Hamid has details.
These are the suspected criminals who specialize in stealing goods. They were caught by the long arm of the law in Ibadan while trying to perpetrate their evil acts. According to them, they've been in the business for some time.
We stole 15 in the first time, the second time we stole 10, the third time we stole 13. It was the fourth time that we were caught in Ibadan. We usually engage in the stealing around 5 a.m. in the morning.
They use this space wagon to convey the goods to where they are sold in K2. And the field commander of Amotekun, Amitolu Shitu, says efforts are underway to arrest the owner of the vehicle.
I want to tell you that the owner of the vehicle purposely purchased the car 3 weeks ago and handed over to the suspects to carry out some robbery.
Amitolu Shitu solicits support of residents in ensuring a crime-free society.
Sometimes lawyers bombard our office asking us to release the suspect to them. No. Society, we can never have a good society if we continue this way. We are aware of the fact that cases, irrespective of the circumstances that surround it, are available, including murder. So, but we must do proper investigation before lawyers could come. We have experienced a lot.
Elsewhere, the state police public relations officer paraded a 36-year-old Abbas Adio, who claimed to be a medical doctor, for killing his victim and made away with his car.
And immediately we finish this parade, we are going to hand him over to the policemen in Edo State, Benin City, and he will be made to face the wrath of law.
Wahab Ahmed and Adegoke Abayomi were also paraded for killing their friend in Modakeke while trying to forcefully collect money from him. Similarly, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps paraded a 33-year-old man for stealing this plasma television, 2 laptops, and some other items.
The suspects actually confessed to have committed the crime. Investigation is still ongoing, after which it will be tried to court for prosecution.
The command warns criminals to steer clear of the state. Rafiu Hamid, TVC News, Osogbo.
To effectively tackle insecurity, the Nigerian Army must remain steadfast and focused always. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya, disclosed this at a Nigerian Army Finance Corps Biennial Training Conference for year 2020 in Lagos. The Army Chief, represented by the Corps Commander, Nigerian Army Engineers, said for the Army to remain competitive in the 21st century, it must continue to develop skills and competencies that would make it ever ready to carry out its constitutional roles.
The training conference, being a biannual program for the Nigerian Army Finance Corps, provides a unique forum to build capacity, increase knowledge and skills in financial management in line with global best practices. The attainment of the vision is hinged on 4 cardinal pillars, namely professionalism, readiness, administration, and cooperation.
The theme for the 13th Nigerian Army Finance Corps Biannual Training Conference is delivering professional and innovative financial services in a joint security environment. It will also provide a good platform for updating personnel on evolving federal government financial policies, financial best practices, and the implication of the prudent management of Nigerian Army resources.
Let's turn our attention now to Niger State, where the White Paper Committee set up by the state government to look into the report of the Judicial Commission of Inquiry following the attacks and reprisal attacks on Mazakuka and Adogo Malam village have submitted a report indicating the government's next line of action. Now, on the 17th of October 2021, 19 persons were killed in a mosque in Mazakuka village, which led to a reprisal attack in the neighboring Adogo Malam village. While briefing journalists at the government house in Minna on the position of the government, the committee led by Jonathan Wassa said 44 members of the local vigilante corps were indicted in the killings. 17 people were abducted and 8 out of those abducted were killed, while the others were released after a ransom was paid. The White Paper Committee has also suggested that a committee be set up to investigate the involvement of the vigilantes indicted. They also suggest Peace and Reconciliation Committee, Compensation Committee to reconcile the people and pay for damages that occurred during the crisis. Well, now let's speak to our correspondent, Chenemi Bami, who joins me via Zoom from Niger State on this development. Chenemi, now give us more insight into the resolutions reached by the committee.
Okay, like you rightly said, last year there was an attack in Mazakuka and that led to a reprisal attack in Adogo Malam. This White Paper Committee is coming on the heels of the report by the Judicial Commission of Inquiries that after going to the neighborhoods and the villages and carrying out findings, they've submitted that there needs to be a reconciliation committee that should be set up because these people are Adogo Malam and Mazakuka are neighboring villages. So if there's no reconciliation properly done right now, these things might still happen again. They attack the order of attack them. All right. So the committee believes that right now there needs to be a proper reconciliation that should be done.
All right. Now, when you talk about proper reconciliation, is there still tension between these two communities?
Okay, right now there is no tension between them based on the information that we have, but there are still indices that this might most likely come up again. Recently, there's been calm in Niger State over the issues of banditry and insecurity. There's been a lot of calm. There's been no recent attacks, and we hope that it stays so. But if this must continue, the neighboring villages must not see themselves as potential threats to each other, which is why the committee is strongly requesting that a reconciliation committee should be set up and damages should be paid for.
Right. We'll leave it here now, Chenemi, but thank you for the update. Thank you for staying with us. Today is the International Literacy Day, a day set aside by the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization to raise global awareness and concern for literacy problems. The day was first celebrated in 1967 and has become an annual event to remind the public of the importance of literacy as a matter of dignity and human rights, and to advance the literacy agenda for a more literate and sustainable society. The theme for this year's celebration is Transforming Literacy Learning Spaces, which again presents an opportunity to rethink the importance of literacy learning spaces to build an inclusive education for all. Well, joining me now to talk about the importance of literacy is the Executive Director of Lead Network, Tukur Mamu. Thank you so much for joining us on the news.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Right. Talk to us about how far we have come with regards to advancing the literacy agenda in Nigeria.
I would say that nationally, judging from the statistics released by the Bureau of Statistics in Nigeria, where it puts the literacy level at slightly above 62%, I would say that a whole lot still need to be done because a situation where up to 40% of the citizens can neither read or write is an indictment on the actualization of Agenda 2030, for which quality education is very, very important and vital to achieving that. We know that education is not just a privilege for the privileged few. As a matter of fact, it is now a right. And that is why we have like the universal basic education, meaning that every person that is a human, you have that inalienable right to be educated. And of course, an integral part of education is literacy skills, your ability to read and write. That helps to like assure your dignity as a person. You can read for yourself, and that can also help for sustainable peace and development. Because when you have citizens that can read for themselves, they can contribute, they can access the news, they can read the news for themselves, and also contribute their own ideas towards national development.
Right. So looking at the theme for the year, transforming literacy learning spaces, exploring opportunities and possibilities, what opportunities can we explore to transform the literary space or the literacy space in Nigeria for better results?
Of course, while commending the federal government for having even set up like a tertiary institution, an open university, for adults, I have a particular concern, especially on a day like this, for those adults that are out there who even want the very basic that they desire of education would be to learn to be able to read, to be able to write. I think a lot has not been done in that regard, and also like in structuring, you know, the approach in such a way that nobody is going to be excluded. And I think that is one of the advocacies of UNESCO in this year's celebration of the International Literacy Day, you know, to structure it considering even the impact of COVID-19, which has further widened the gap between those that are in school and those that are out of school. Of course, the pandemic actually put out more persons out of school. So the strategy will now be, how do we reach out to those persons that are not in school right now, I'm talking about the children, and then for those of them that are adults who has lost the opportunity for one reason or the other, like of course 2023 is coming and we will be expecting them to vote, we'll be expecting them to analyze the mandates of the candidates and to contribute equitably as citizens of Nigeria. How will they be able to do that if they cannot be able to read, to write? And of course, you can be sure they can't analyze.
All right, we have to leave the conversation here now. Executive Director of Lead Network, Tukur Mamu, thank you for your time on the news.
Thank you so much.
The Economic Community of West African States has officially launched the African Research and Innovation Forum to promote and develop for the promotion and development of science, technology and innovation among member states. This was disclosed by ECOWAS leaders and Nigeria's supervising Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, Adeleke Mamora, at a press conference in Abuja. Maria Mohammed has details.
Research and innovation contributes to the development of any nation. The discoveries through innovation brings new wealth to those nations who seek to constantly reshape the future of its economy. In Nigeria, as in most African countries, science, technology and innovation has not been given an enabling environment to thrive like their foreign counterparts. This is why ECOWAS and Nigeria's Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation are seeking to change this narrative by launching the African Research Forum. The theme for this project is Science, Technology and Innovation for a more competitive ECOWAS.
This logo for the rest of the time.
The logo for this forum is launched at this conference by a representative of ECOWAS, Jao Potiem, who explains why ECOWAS leaders decided to back this project. He urged all countries in the region to exchange best practices in the field of science, technology and innovation.
Science, technology and innovation are the tripartite that must lift our continent out of poverty.
Nigeria's Supervising Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, Adeleke Mamora, notes that Nigeria, with a huge population, can no longer afford to be a solely consuming nation. The ministry under his watch will continue to seek ways of commercializing various research and development products from all research institutes across the country.
Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation is continuously seeking ways of commercializing the various research and development products from all our research institutions for the benefit of not just Nigerians and Nigeria, but also for the good of member states in the sub-region.
The forum is scheduled to hold from the 17th to 21st October 2022. The Commission and stakeholders hopes the forum will improve public understanding on the role of science, technology and innovation on socio-economic development in the West African region. Maria Mohammed, TVC News, Abuja.